we're down at the shop today. Basically what this video is going to be about is this 2017 Ram 3500. If you've watched some of my other videos, I've kind of done the normal escalation from a 3/4 ton to 1 ton. And I've had this for about 2 years now. This is a 2017 and I've got almost 10,000 miles on it. And mainly it's spent its life pulling my dump trailer, which is 14,000 pounds, my toy hauler, fifth wheel, which is 14,000 pounds, and my little small utility trailer with my Razor on it. So generally I do have another vehicle that I drive, you know, a daily driver. This is used for work and play pretty much, and I've been real happy with it, way happier than I was with a 3/4 ton. A lot more dependable. If you watch my last video on the Windrock trip, one of the things that happened was I had actually 2 tire blowouts, one going to and one coming from on the toy hauler. Other than hearing a big loud pop, basically like a large balloon, the truck did not notice. It was really stable, and I was actually in an area around Knoxville going at a pretty high rate of speed, 65 miles an hour. And was able to safely get off the road. Now I attribute a lot of that up to the one, the weight of the truck, and two, having the dually in the back for that fifth wheel. I will say with my, even just my tag-along dump trailer, you know, it's a bumper pull, pulls it a million times better than a 3/4 ton ever did. And mainly that's braking power. A lot of trucks will pull just about anything. That 3/4 ton basically had the similar 6.7 liter Cummins. It wasn't the high output like this one is, and it pulled the trailer fine, but stability is what you're looking for, stability and stopping power. So that's one thing I'll say about the difference between a 1 ton and a 3/4 ton, is just the ability to control the load. And I think that's probably the most important thing you want to look at when purchasing a truck for anything, whether you're pulling an equipment trailer and an excavator on the back, or you're doing it for pleasure and you've got a big fifth wheel trailer. Really has improved the towing experience. Multiple times now I've actually towed the fifth wheel about 300 miles one way by myself, and not had any issues. It's just it's so much more stable. I mean, you're more relaxed driving, and you've got control of the load. Just real quick, I wanted to kind of go over with the truck 2 years in, 10,000 miles, and really the only maintenance that I've had to do is just normal maintenance. It has been back to the local dealership, not where I bought the truck, but somewhere close to me, and they did an excellent job. And that was a leaking rear seal. I did a video on that. They did that repair, got it right on the first time. I have not had any problems with it since. Other than that, I haven't had any trouble with the truck whatsoever. The only other weird thing during the, I did have a brake modular failure, which was repaired at the same dealer. That really didn't affect the truck. You know, just a light turned on, and I didn't have ABS for, I don't know, 2 weeks. But they basically replaced a lot of parts on this thing, and it ended up being something really simple. But you know, warranty covered it all, and kind of coming from most of the vehicles I bought have been foreign. They've been small cars. The dealer experience there is nothing like what I experienced at the local Dodge dealer. I don't know if they're moving towards this or what have you, but I can remember a foreign car, even just purchasing the vehicle, you sitting in a waiting room kind of with nothing around you, versus these trips to the dealer for this truck. You know, they basically had food and drink, snack. I was offered a vehicle if I needed it. Like, I went on a morning that was during the work week, and they're like, you know, if you need a vehicle to go to work, you can come back and pick it up anytime. So that to me was really nice. I typically work on my own stuff. This particular truck, I've let the dealer do anything that's come up and not had any issues, which is it's been nice. On the 3/4 ton truck, if you watch some other videos, I mean, I've replaced whole front end steering systems, ball joints, U-joints here in my shop, and I haven't reached the point with this truck where that's going to be needed. I don't think I actually started having trouble with the 3/4 ton until about 40,000 miles, and I had a broke tie rod, which I fixed. I mean, it was broke on the side of the road, and I needed it right then, so I just went and grabbed a tie rod and replaced it. It wasn't a big deal. But this truck seems to be a lot more beefy. Definitely the front and steering components are more beefy. It does have the Aisin transmission. Highly recommend if you're going to get a truck to actually pull, even if you don't need it, because my kind of rule of thumb at this point is I really like to have double the capacity rating of the truck versus what I'm towing. That seems to be a very comfortable tow. I would tow way more weight with this than what I currently own without, you know, too much fret, but this thing just pulled, you know, in the 14,000 pound range. Typically what you might try to pull a 3/4 ton truck, this truck pulls it no problem, can stop it with no problem, and get it where you want it with no problem. So as far as pros on this truck, it's pretty much as good as you can expect for a commercial truck. 1 tons are commercial. I'm in North Carolina. I did have to get commercial insurance for the 1 ton. If you watched one of my previous videos, I did actually go get Class A license to be able to pull. I'm slightly over 26,000 pounds with some of the stuff I've got, even my personal stuff. And in North Carolina, they still require you to get a properly classed license, whether it be a non-CDL or a CDL license. You have to have one or the other. So that was really the only big change, is that commercial insurance and the license when I purchased this truck. And that's mainly because this truck's gross vehicle weight is 14,000 pounds. Typically, if I'm pulling something 14,000 pounds, the truck obviously is not at 14,000 pounds. It's under that. But it's just something you got to deal with when you step up to the 1 ton truck. Check your state laws. Make sure that you got the right license to be pulling, even if you have an RV. I have a ton of people that are telling me, you know, you don't need one or need a Class A license for an RV, and I can tell you for sure that's absolutely not true, at least in North Carolina and many other states. They do have a normal license class, A, B, and C, and you do have to have the right license. Regardless, if it's an RV, it's not excluded. If the gross vehicle weight is over 26,001, you have to have that Class A license. It's real easy to get, and I highly recommend it. Not so much for the fact that you may get stopped or pulled over, but because in North Carolina, I've noticed a lot of law offices now specialize in RV accidents, and they're going to come after you if you are in a 26,000 pound plus vehicle and get in an accident, even if it's not your fault. It's just a risk that's not worth taking, especially if all you need is the Class A. You don't need the CDL. It doesn't cost any more money. It's just you go down and take another test, a written test that's similar to the CDL test, and you have to actually drive with that class of vehicle, which for me was, I basically had to drive with this truck and one of my 14,000 pound trailers and show competence in being able to get that around town without hitting anything or doing anything you shouldn't be doing in a vehicle that heavy. Towing off the rear bumper, way better than the 3/4 ton. If you've looked at my other videos, I ended up adding an aftermarket hitch to that truck simply because the weight rating of the hitch was not adequate for what I was pulling. This came with it, and all the documentation I can see, the hitch on this particular truck is good up to 18.5, and that well exceeds anything that I'm currently bumper pulling, and you can tell it's very rigid. It's the larger, the largest square size for the Reese hitch, and they do include a reducer for, most people have 2-inch hitches, and they include a reducer if you want to use that. As far as cons to this truck, I'm not super happy with the tires that are on it. I have noticed, especially like around the 8,000-9,000 mile mark, a lot of it's because I get a lot of gravel going in and out of this gravel lot stuck in the tires, but I have a feeling, you know, the tires are 3 years old now at least, and I think I'm starting to see some separation in these tires. And I have no idea how to pronounce it. It's like Nexten or Next Gen or something like that, but it's the stock tire that comes on almost all the Dodges that I've seen. I probably will not be going with those. I've already had to buy one, probably 1,000 miles in. First thing, inevitably, right before I was going on a Windrock trip, I got basically a screw all the way through it, and the tire actually did fine, and got it down to the tire shop and got it replaced. But I probably won't be going with these the same brand tires. The other, it's more of a pet peeve. I really don't like the puck covers that are for the fifth wheel hitch. There's no indicator on them to show you when they're unlocked, so you kind of gotta stick something sharp in there and pry up on them while you're trying to turn them. And it always takes me, you know, it takes an extra 10-15 minutes to get those out anytime that I want to put the fifth wheel hitch in. It's a little bit annoying. I think they could have made that a lot easier, but that's, you know, a minor thing. If I would have ordered this truck, the only thing that I would have changed, I would have probably got chrome side steps and chrome bumpers. This was a fully loaded limited, and everything's painted. I really don't like that. I think it's a lot easier to keep clean if you end up with a little chrome on the bottom and on the front and the back versus the painted. But overall, really solid truck. I'm in the mountains of western North Carolina, so it's not, this truck isn't really, almost everything that I'm pulling is up a hill, down a hill. And that's why in our particular area, you basically, kind of Dodge dominates that area, and mainly that's because of their exhaust brake. If you get in any other truck or any other truck that I test drove when I bought this, the exhaust braking was the #1 thing for me as far as the purchase decision. And I was able to get this truck at or slightly underneath what the other trucks kind of came out at the quoting time. And that may have been because it was last year's model or what have you, but it was the best deal for me, and so far I love it. And I was already experienced with the Dodge because I had the 3/4 ton. I've not actually, I owned Fords before the last Dodge that I had, and that was my big complaint on that 3/4 ton King Ranch that I had. The transmission, gearing down, and lack of an adequate engine brake were big problems, especially as you get into heavier loads. So in closing, that's kind of a review on the truck. If you have any questions, shoot me a line. Like I say, this is 2 years in, and I'm very happy with the purchase still. I usually keep a truck, you know, at least 80-100,000 miles. So I'll have this several, you know, more years, probably like 5 or 7 more years. And so far so good. Anyway, we'll catch you on the next video.